Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 118 of the Not Joanna Eggs podcast. This week, Robin and myself are doing a holly jolly Rankin Bass Christmas specials episode, meaning we're talking about both Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Year Without a Santa Claus. If you haven't checked them out, I highly recommend that you do. This is my first time watching it, and I had a great time, even if the parenting in this is very sus. But, you know, it's still fun. We wanted to get this up before Christmas, and this will realistically be the last episode we have out this year. But yeah, I hope you guys dig this one. And either way, I hope you have a great holiday and an awesome new year, and we will see you again in January. Thanks a lot, and take care. Bye. Holly jolly, how's it going, everybody?
Oh, all right.
Welcome to another episode of the Not Joanna Eggs podcast. I'm Tracy.
And I'm Robin.
Robin is currently in the middle of doing some dad noises.
Sorry, I'm stretching. I haven't...
You ever do the thing where, like, you get up, you stretch, and then you fart because of the...
I know, that's amazing. All right, wait, so hold on. So an amusing story. My roommate and I, one time when we were traveling, we obviously shared a room.
Yeah.
And he fell asleep, like, right away. And at some point in the night while he was sleeping, he just farts and then just goes... Like, it was the
oh my God.
fucking thing ever.
The older I get, the more dad noises start coming out between like me and Ken. We're just like, okay, I guess we're pretty much in our 30s now. Fucking sucks.
Yep.
So your back hurts all the time.
Yeah, your back has expired.
Enjoy your life until 26. Turns out Logan's Run was a documentary. So oh God.
All right. So
all right.
We're doing holiday stuff today.
We are. Yeah, we're doing and this is kind of a special thing in that like this is a thing that I never grew up watching, but Robin, I believe this was a traditional thing for you.
The one is definitely childhood. The other one is not as much, but I came to love it.
Still fun.
Yeah, later in life.
And we're talking about the Rankin Bass movies. We're talking about two of them at least. We're talking about Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, which originally came out back in, what was it, 64, I think?
64.
Yeah, 1964. Shit's crazy. Yeah, which I'd never seen this one. I knew of some of the jokes and like references and stuff, but it was just never a thing that we watched. There was no particular reason, but I can only assume that my mom had never grown up with that. So yeah, we just, I mean, like in my household, we tended to watch a lot of Muppet Christmas Carol, a lot of How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and the Santa Claus, because I guess I liked Tim Allen because of Home Improvement, but in retrospect, huge piece of shit.
Yeah, it's really hard for me to reconcile that one in particular because I do like that movie. I think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, but like he's objectively a terrible person.
But yeah, also, man, I rewatched that recently in high def, and it is not kind to Tim Allen's busted ass 90s face.
Yeah, it really sucks.
I don't know. When you do a bunch of coke in the 80s, I guess it wears on you.
I mean, I get, like, pure Michigan is just what he's putting up his face. But anyway, that's beside the point. This is not the Tim Allen dunking hour, but we could easily have that happen.
We could do that, but that's not what we're doing today.
But no, and so the other film that we're going to be talking about is 10 years later, 10 years after the fact, you've got The Year Without a Santa Claus, which came out in 1974, which I thought was actually very refreshing because the story is told from Mrs. Claus' perspective.
I dig that.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, like, I was just surprised to see that was the story direction they went with. But for, argument's sake, we'll do Rudolph first just because more people know it. And then we'll do Year Without a Santa Claus. So
yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, but before we get into the episode, I just, like, in light of all the shit that's gone on this year, and, like, chances are if you're listening to this, you've probably had a fucking terrible year. Or, like, at least some things have really impacted you. Or if you've had a great year, you're probably a terrible person and profiteering off the pandemic. And we fucking hate you, but...
The guillotine. It's for you.
But I thought that it might just be nice to, like, really quickly just, like, reflect on our favorite thing from this year and then our least favorite thing from this year. Or at least something that we're just, like, is not great, Bob, not 100% on. So,
sure.
Robin, how about, what was your favorite thing of this year?
Favorite thing's really hard to pick. I think it's probably a three-way tie between...
Hot.
I know.
Sorry.
A three-way tie between Hades, the game coming out, Ink and Fell, another video game coming out, which I was going to mention for Owl House and fucking forgot.
It's okay. I mean, we forgot to do what we were watching last episode too, but it's
Yeah.
okay. And we both got some stuff we could talk about at the end. But
Yeah. Well, I wanted to mention Inkenfell for Owl House because it's also cute gay witches at
Yes.
Witch Academy. So
it's on Game Pass too. I think I'd like to play it at some point because Ken's
I
got
would
Game Pass for Xbox.
I can do a whole thing about Inkenfell, but
That's another
strongly
time.
recommend.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a different podcast, I guess. And then the third is getting into Final Fantasy 14 and like making friends to play that game with has been like really cool for me.
For sure.
But that's my favorite. Tracy, what was your favorite?
I mean, it's kind of been a combination of things because, like, well, I'll mention this earlier. Like, objectively, one of the best things was that I got to go to Japan, and that was at the start of March of this year.
I was like right away.
Yeah, I know, because this year has felt like 10 years, but so I was in Japan. Kent and I were there, like, just sightseeing. Kind of sucked because we couldn't go to some museums and everything, but we still had a great time. Got engaged there. That was pretty sick.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, I haven't done a whole lot of wedding planning stuff because it's just been, like, sad times.
Yeah,
but,
the world's very much on fire.
Yeah, but at the very least, like now that there's like a vaccine that's actually in sight that we could have hopefully by spring, I can start planning more stuff, which is really nice because I wanted to get out of my little sad cocoon of just be like, I can't even be happy. But we went to go see a handful of movies earlier this year. I met up with Robin to go see, I think it was American Tail and Land Before Time at the drive-in movie theater. That's probably a lot closer to you for sure, but like it's about an hour drive for me.
That was fun.
Yeah, it was just neat. Like I saw Planes, Trains, and Automobiles there. It was just nice to see that was actually thriving, especially during the summer, because we're just be like, like aside from that, I was just fishing. So, and then third has got to be Animal Crossing. Like I can't stress it enough. Something about managing my own town of furries just makes me feel very whole. So,
I am slowly getting back into the Animal Crossing.
You got to get in on Toy Day, man. It's so good. I'm started planning like a dog park and like a little conifer forest and stuff. I made a drive-in movie. It was all great.
I feel so painfully guilty because all my villagers like, I haven't seen you in forever, and I'm like, I love you. Please don't be mad at me.
I've told that Mac and Muffy can never leave. So I every time they ask, like, I've been thinking about going to a different island, I'm like, no, you're thinking crazy. You need to stay here because you're cute and you complete my aesthetic. You're not allowed to leave.
Yes, that's I like a lot of my villagers.
I miss Ed. I shouldn't have let him go, but that's beside the point.
Anywho.
But no, yeah, it's been a lot of like gaming and just like interpersonal stuff, like just trying to reach out to more people. So, but I guess that's most of it. I'm ready to see this year go. I really am.
We all are.
But yeah, so let's go ahead and we'll start talking about Rudolph, just because it's iconic for a reason.
Rudolph is also, I think, a good one to start with because it is the first of these specials that they did. It's not their first thing they did. The first thing was like, I think The Adventures of Pinocchio, and then they did another series, Return to Oz or something.
Yeah.
And then they got into these specials and just kind of went hog wild with it.
Like they found a gimmick and then they ran with it.
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna pull up. We can go over it later, but pulling up the many ones of these they've done.
Well, no, I really like the fact that, so, I mean, in case you don't know, which I guess is possible, Rankin Bass is best known for doing a whole lot of stop-motion puppetry movies, so, and they're mostly geared around, I'm pretty sure, around holidays. Like, I know they did The Easter Bunny is Coming to Town. They did, I forgot that they did Little Drummer Boy. They did two of them. There's book 2, which I was surprised by. Rudolph's Shiny New Year, which is actually the movie that we were talking about initially.
And then I remembered that it sucks.
Yeah, and then Robin's like, let's not do that one because it's terrible. They even did the animated Frosty the Snowman too, which is crazy.
Yes, they did, which is wild.
Yeah, I watched that one all the time. Tried rewatching it again. Pretty slowly paced. Oh yeah. We had the video cassette back in the day. But I didn't know it was the same company.
Yep, it's weird. So yeah, the Rudolph was there first, and I actually did a bit of a Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer deep lore dive last night. So there is a book that is the actual original story of Rudolph the Reindeer, which I can't remember. I would have to.
I think it was some kind of marketing initiative by it was a department store. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. By weirdly and kind of joyfully for us, a Chicago department store.
Yeah. Woo. Got him.
they released like free coloring books every year for Christmas, and then they were like, well, at this point it's just cheaper to make our own, and so they hired one of the guys to make their own coloring book, and he eventually created Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer off of that. Okay, so it was in 1939, and then a few years later, someone wrote, his brother-in-law, I think, wrote the song Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and then in 1964, this came out, and they I guess there was some... The problem was that the book that it was originally written was out of print at the time, and so they couldn't get a copy of it for some reason. So they just kind of made the story up based on the song.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like they could have gone on eBay and found like an original copy. Like even at that point, like it would be very tough to find one that wasn't a collector's item somewhere.
So Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, if you're not familiar somehow, is the story of a reindeer who has a very red shiny nose, and everyone makes fun of him. And then literally this is kind of funny. So on a foggy night, Santa realizes, oh, I need a light to guide me through to deliver presents, which was literally inspired by the writer sitting in his like office in, you know, one of the skyscrapers in Chicago, looking down at misty, foggy Chicago one day.
Which we tend to accumulate a lot of mist, a lot of fog.
And that's the basic premise. And it's funny that you mentioned the pacing of Frosty, because I was rewatching Rudolph last night for the first time in a while, at least a year, and I'm like, man, I forgot how like kind of smoothly paced this is.
It's one of those movies where, and maybe this is just because of how movie making has changed now, where I'm not expecting it to be some kind of like long paced epic like the Avengers.
No.
Like they wouldn't have that much story to pad it out with, and thank God they haven't done a big CGI like Illumination remake of this, because fuck no.
Don't speak it now.
All right, fine. You know what? I'll edit it out.
Yeah,
there will never be a CGI remake, and there never has been.
Thank God. Actually, there actually was in like 2006.
We're not going to talk about it, but
no,
I was just kind of surprised at how well paced this was, because it starts off, you know, like Rudolph is the child of Donner, I believe.
Yep.
And his doe, who's just called Mrs. Donner. I'm pretty sure.
Fun sort of technical mistake is male and female reindeer have antlers.
Which, you know,
that's
fine. It's all right. I guess we'll let it go. But it's fine. I mean, like, just in general, I both love and I hate how awful Donner is to Rudolph. He's like basically
so
like
him.
There's something about all the authority figures in this are so harsh, and like maybe it's just like I think that it's just like Rudolph has shitty boomer parents, or they're just like, no son of mine's gonna have a red shiny nose. How dare you be different?
Yes. It's so buck wild.
If you wanted to go for like metaphors, which I was like, I wasn't like reading it as though like Rudolph was gay or that there's something wrong with him or anything, but like it's just that he's so overtly like othering, you know, like and this was something that came up that like I'll at least say this. Kent had mentioned that maybe it had something to do with like you know, like rising racial tensions or something during the United States, because at this time this was the mid '60s and the
this is peak civil rights.
Yeah, because the civil rights movement wasn't actually passed until 68, I believe. But I mean, like, if that was supposed to be the metaphor that they were going for, I was like, I guess that's pretty extreme. Like, you just see all the reindeers being excessively racist. But
yeah, well,
I don't know if that's an accurate reading or not. But you could see that if you wanted to.
Yeah, I think you could make that reading.
Yeah,
I know that the original intent of the story was supposed to be like kind of like an underdog story of like even like everyone can contribute and have like value in society. That's like the original intent behind the Rudolph story.
Yeah, and that was the implication that you get, because a lot of their society within like where they're living on the North Pole is dictated just around the roles that they have to fulfill.
Yeah.
Where like Rudolph is like his destiny thing is that like, you know, it's kind of like when a kid tries to go to a college that their parents went to because they're like a legacy and they're more likely to get in because of that kind of thing. Like Rudolph is trying to get onto Santa's
sleigh team.
Yeah, on his sleigh team. And it's like and Rudolph, like he has some very obvious like you know, flying prowess. Like there's a certain point where they're doing like training routines or training drills to try to show off in front of Santa, who is very thin and super upsetting to look at.
It's so weird, and it's my favorite thing that like in the lore of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, that Santa's weight fucking yo-yos. around like Christmas, big fat happy man. Rest of the year, this terrifying straw
with like a giant head. And that was the whole thing, is that I love that Mrs. Claus in this movie, she's kind of portrayed as being a feeder, you know, like in like a like a weird feeder sexual relationship where the other person gets off on feeding their partner excessive amounts of food because they get like some kind of weird power dynamic thing. I think it's something like that, but I was a little uncomfortable. Mostly I was just like, Santa, your legs are so little. Your head is so big.
Yes. Well, that's even John and I make that joke sometimes. Just, whoever heard of a skinny Santa?
So but weird. Yeah, like it's I think it's just something about like this entire thing where like Santa is shown that he hates the chorus of elves that sing him the song every fucking year, and he's like he hates the song even though it's totally about him and how great he is, and he's like, couldn't we put on some Chuck Berry, like something more fun? Yeah,
it's so two things. Like one, it's weird how grumpy Santa is.
Yeah, he's
as
kind
a
of a
character
dick
in this, just like all around, right? He's like really weirdly grouchy, and then he becomes fat and happy. I don't know. Maybe thin Santa is just a dick, and that's why he has to be fat.
I think he's just really hungry.
He starves himself the other
just lashing
11
out.
months of the year.
Oh my god. I mean, it would make sense.
It's the only thing I have. The other thing that I want to say on his hating the song is every song in this is great, personally.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, some of that's nostalgia, I won't deny, but I love every song in this. And also, rewatching it last night, I realized the video version, the home video version I watched as a kid, has a different song, which was apparently a change they made in 1965.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so watching it last night, the original version, I guess, when Hermie and Rudolph meet, they have a song called We're Misfits.
Yeah.
But the version I watched as a kid, they have a song called Fame and Fortune.
Really? Oh, I didn't remember that one.
That's the one. So that's the thing. They switched them out in like 1965 or something.
Fair enough. Okay.
And so the home video release that I watched as a kid, has Fame and Fortune. So I just remember, like, it's kind of this like goofy, fun, like marching theme of them just being like fame and fortune, and that's it. But it's like a fun time.
Sounds like jokes, but yeah, I mean, because I didn't realize that. Well, no, it's. I mean, like, and here's the thing: I didn't actually. Okay, I knew that Holly Jolly Christmas came out of this one because I really like Holly Jolly Christmas. It's a lot of fun.
It's so good.
And like the We're a Couple of Misfits thing, I thought was kind of silly, but whatever. But and then there's a classic, the end theme with Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, which is iconic for a reason.
Of course.
I think the thing that surprised me the most was that I knew that Hermie was involved with this. That like he was. He wanted to be a dentist and he didn't fit in because he didn't want to make toys. But that foreman is such a fucking dick. I think I wrote down how he dresses Hermie down at one point, word for word. And it's like, he's so harsh. He's like, you'll never fit in.
10-minute break. Not for you.
It's like, if you're not gonna giggle and smile and make merry, then get the fuck out of my house.
It's so good.
Just because he wanted to be a dentist, I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And like, okay, granted, Hermie, I'm very kind of indifferent to because like, and I don't know if this is like, I think he's kind of got big twink energy a little bit. But look, I'm just saying a little bit. Something about like his hair is very well coiffed. I don't know.
It's like a good old like a good like coif now.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm just saying, if there was a gay couple that wanted to dress up as Hermie and Rudolph, they would look amazing. Neither one is a bad option. But
Please, internet, give us this.
I'm sure it exists. But the thing that I was the most surprised of, and this is kind of skipping ahead, was that Hermie is surprisingly kind of vicious when it comes to enacting dentistry.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I was like that really disturbed me when he took out the teeth out of the Bumble. I was like, look, dude, you're in his territory. Like, you should just leave. Like that, you don't have a right to rip all of his teeth out. Like having him fall down the ravine would have been good enough. They could have gotten away, but he tore his teeth out anyway. That's not okay.
Yes. This actually serves as a great transition to my favorite character. Yukon Cornelius.
Oh god, he's the fucking best.
He's amazing.
I love that he looks like a standard hipster now, which is fantastic.
Yeah, which is
I mean,
weird.
I mean, but honestly, extremely timely. Never really some things never change.
He's so good.
He has such a weird array of sled dogs, which is like
I love his.
Oh god,
his
they're
hodgepodge
so great
team of dogs.
because he's got because these dogs are all totally different sizes. So he's got like Saint Bernard, makes sense, good working dog. A Dachshund, like a poodle or a Pomeranian or something like that.
Yeah, no, that had to be like a Pomeranian because it was tiny.
Yeah, it was like it just didn't structurally make sense how any of them would be able to keep time with each other. It's like whenever you have a sled dog, you're usually getting all the same breed, like Huskies or something.
Yes.
And it was just like some of these dogs are going to be getting strangled because the Saint Bernard's going too fast.
Well, yeah, that's my favorite part is when he's trying to get them to go and he's like, Marsh! They just won't move. So he's like, fine, I'll show you. And then all the dogs jump on back on the sled. And I'm like, I feel like this is just how your life goes, Cornelius. Like, this is these dogs as a sled team don't work, and you end up pulling the cart. And they're on to the game now.
But Yukon Cornelius, he's so prepared for so many things. Like, I really appreciate...
ready.
He's just here for it. Like, nothing gets him down. Like, it's great.
Silver!
I love it. There's a certain point where they're stuck on an ice flue going to the island of misfit toys, and he's saying like the air is as thick as like
peanut butter.
As peanut butter. And then Hermie tries to correct him and he's like, don't you mean pea soup? He's like, I don't insult what you like, so you don't insult what I like. I was like, I would never think to compare peanut butter with the air, but I was like, you know what, man? To each their own. I get it.
Yeah, exactly. Also,
it's such a weird thing for him to get defensive of, but it's so funny.
Yes, it's so good. Well, and that's also a good transition because when they land, they get to one of my favorite locations, the island of misfit toys.
That was my favorite too. So great.
It's so good.
I didn't understand how any of them are misfits because I was like,
yes!
I wanted that elephant. It was so fucking cute.
It was such a cute elephant.
I was like, nobody wants an elephant with polka dots. I was like, fuck those kids.
Bullshit.
I'll take
you. I do. That was my favorite.
I'm gonna put you in my pocket, you little bastard.
My favorite is and probably always will be, who wants a cowboy who rides an ostrich? And I'm like, me. That's awesome.
That's a thing they do in Texas constantly. There are ostrich races constantly.
That's amazing.
It's awesome.
As a person who plays MMOs and collects weird mounts, absolutely I want a cowboy riding an ostrich.
But yeah, like the whole island of misfit toys, like I love that their whole structure is that they're there because presumably nobody wants them, but I'd just be like, I don't think that that's true. And then Hermie, Rudolph, and Yukon Cornelius go over to the palace of the island of misfit toys, which is run by like it's not like a griffin, is it? It was something like that.
It's just a lion with wings.
Yeah, I was like, just run with it. Yeah, and he's like, well, very well.
It's Aslan with wings. Just let him go.
Yeah, it's just Aslan with wings, and he's just be like, these are all my disciples. Nobody loves them. But apparently the polka dot elephant still has a job there because he's wearing the cutest freaking doorman's outfit I've ever seen.
He's the sentry or whatever.
Yeah, I think he's like the bellhop or something. I was like, oh my god, I want him so bad. I also like that when they're staying overnight at the palace because they're trying to like wait out the storm, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. They're all sharing a twin-size bed.
Yeah, they're crammed into this tiny house. You know what it actually like reminds me of, or put however you want, is in Over the Garden Wall.
Oh yeah,
third to last episode where Greg goes to that weird like heaven place and he fights the North Wind. That little house they get stuck in, that's what I think of.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because it seems like similarly sort of inspired.
I mean, I was a little bit surprised that he didn't offer to let them stay in the palace at all. I was like, this place looks pretty big. Are you sure you don't have some spare rooms just for the night? But
no, fuck you.
He was like, no, fuck you guys. That's my pillow room. It's the comfiest room in the castle. You can't stay in it.
What's that room? That's the litter box. We don't talk about it.
It's the biggest room in the palace. I never clean it. Ew, just stinks. But yeah, then from there, Rudolph has this weird kind of like crisis of like, oh, what am I doing? And he decides that he's just going to leave and try to go take care of things himself, and heads back to the North Pole.
Yes.
Which is like, it's sad, and then at that point, it kind of feels like it's sort of padding though, because they're just waiting for the rest of the characters to sort of meet up together, which I guess it technically is the case because he comes back. He realizes that Donna and his mom were like, oh, we've been terrible to him. We need to try to go find him.
Yeah, right.
And then I'm a little bit unclear. How do they meet Yukon Cornelius and Hermie again? I forget.
So Yukon and Hermie had been trying to find Rudolph the whole time he had left them.
Yeah.
Rudolph goes to save everyone from the Bumble, and then Hermie and Yukon show up, and they're like, all right, we've got a plan. Which is, we're going to lure the Bumble out with pig noises and then bonk him on the head, essentially. Which also I love that Rudolph's like, I'm going to fight you, and it rips a stalagmite down and just whacks him on the skull.
Oh, it's great.
It's so good, the physicality of it.
I think it was just also the fact that they're just like, we're just going to lower like a rock or like this gigantic ice snowball on top of his head and knock him out. And then while he's out cold, you're going to rip out every single one of his
yank
teeth.
all his teeth out.
That seems very excessive.
It's a little much.
That was kind of where I was just like, okay, Hermie, I don't fucking like you anymore. You're a creep. Like, that's not okay.
That's a little much, bud.
Yeah, I mean, because like they're not going to grow back, and then they try to make it like a cute thing at the end of the movie where the Bumble comes back with them to the North Pole, and he's just putting stuff up on the tree. But I'm like, he can't fucking eat now, Hermie.
He's gonna eat pudding and applesauce.
Yeah, that's it until he can get some dentures that are less threatening.
It's just the Bumble, but he has those giant like J. Jonah Jameson prosthetic teeth.
Oh yeah, or like those weird like the chattering teeth toys that like they had back in like the 60s or something. I don't know. But and then from there we just kind of get the sort of epilogue where they come back and they're getting everything ready for Christmas, because like Santa's like, oh, okay, I guess we're gonna go now because Rudolph's back, and then they have the montage of them putting everything together.
Yeah, and they the epilogue is also nice because we see they go to the island of misfit toys, and those toys get homes. That
made me really happy. I love seeing them get picked up.
It's such like a kind of cute little thing that they do.
It was really nice because because Rudolph promised that he would come back to make sure that they could get new owners or that they could get owners to come hang out with, and I love that they have them all drop down using umbrellas. Like, it's a very cute, less barbaric thing of, like, them, other than them just literally throwing them over the side of the sled. That would probably be seen as pretty not okay.
Yeah.
The most tragic part about this movie, though, is that so few of the puppets were preserved, just because I guess there wasn't a lot of emphasis for it.
Yeah, so this was their first sort of big thing, and I think part of it is, they just didn't understand the value and use of preserving them.
Yeah.
And it also explains, like, so if there's, like, tons of these Rankin Bass specials, and specifically there's this one, Rudolph's Shiny New Year, and Rudolph's Christmas in July, and you'll notice in the model for older Rudolph looks substantially different in subsequent films, and that's why.
Well, yeah, and I was trying to figure out what the whole deal with the puppets themselves was. Like, I couldn't tell if it was supposed to be done with just regular felt, like it was sewn, or needle felt. Because it definitely has that very tactile kind of look to it. But I was like, the more I looked at it, I was like, I don't think that it would have been easy to get any of those puppets made with it sewn on. Like, I felt like they had a needle felted on there, It
could be. I don't know. But yeah.
Yeah.
Their whole, like, shtick of, like, that kind of felty or needle felty, whatever it is. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it's still a very, like, you could definitely tell that they did not have a huge budget for it, but they made it work so well. The whole thing of them using sheets of glass to look like a sea, like they would just put, like, like so things cool. of, like, sand or something on there to make it look like waves or whatever. It was really, really nice.
Yeah, that was really well done, actually.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, so do we want to move on to Year Without a Santa Claus?
Let's do. Just because, you can tell that notably the puppets got a lot better, at least in terms of production quality. And just like how they have the mouths a lot easier to move. Like you could tell that the 10 years definitely did them a lot of favors. They really pushed the medium a lot farther.
Yeah, and also like throughout these movies, they kind of like build up a different lore of the characters.
Yeah.
And again, like the puppetry being a thing, them losing the puppets, obviously Mrs. Claus looks much different in this version than in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Oh my god, night and day difference. The first puppet, she's got like these weird kind of like Tic Tac eyes, like black licorice Tic Tac eyes.
And just super angular features, whereas in this one she's like really rounder and softer.
Yeah, I love the appeal of her character too. Like just
she's great.
Yeah, like so we'll get into the discussion of the plot itself. So the whole premise is that Santa just kind of gets to a certain point where he's like, you know what, maybe I just shouldn't do this anymore. I think kids have lost the Christmas spirit, and he's really starting to kind of lose his momentum and just wants to basically take a year off, essentially.
Yeah.
Which is, understandable. But even though, like, Mrs. Claus is there, she's the one narrating the story, and she's trying to reinvigorate his desire to want to be more involved doing Christmas stuff. They briefly toy with the idea of her dressing up as Santa and just doing all the stuff that he usually does, which I thought it sounded really fun. And I love that she enlists the help of two elves named Jingle and Jangle, where
Jingle bells and jangle bells.
Yeah, there you go. And the instant that I saw both of them, I was like, okay, if this was live action, Jingle would be played by John C. Reilly, and Jangle would be played by Tom Petty if he wasn't dead.
Oh, man.
Because he looks exactly like Tom Petty.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think he does. But
it's been a while since I've seen Tom Petty, so...
he's got that look. Maybe his nose isn't as long, but I think he could pull it off.
He's got a weird, like, bent banana nose.
Yeah, I mean, they need to have the more comedic, like, silly counterparts, so that's what Jangle does.
It's funny to me in this, like, again, the weird ways in which, like, the lore sort of changes. There's an army of elves in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. For all intents and purposes, it appears that there are just Jingle and Jangle in this one, who are, like, kind of loosely incompetent.
Yeah, it was like the rest of them are like they're all union or they're striking or something, and Jingle and Jangle are like the only holdouts. Like, they're just there. They're just like, we don't like to make waves. But yeah, I like the fact that they are enlisted to go to a place called Southtown, USA.
Well, so they're looking for Christmas spirit, and they end up in Southtown.
Yeah, which I always just assumed was supposed to be like a fill-in for Atlanta, like way back in the day, something like that.
Yeah, that would make sense. Like, stylistically, it's kind of there.
Yeah, if it was like a very, like, turn-of-the-century Victorian kind of thing.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely like 1930s, 1940s.
I would say earlier than that,
era.
Personally. But just because of the hats. I would say because of the hats.
Oh. Well, there's definitely, I think, one of the things is like some weird, inconsistent sort of stylistic considerations.
I think it's just basically supposed to be classic Americana, which is fine.
That's like, definitely...
which is a pretty wide array of time anyway. But
well, the funny thing to me in this is when they go there and they're like kind of walking around town, as a cop gives them a ticket for riding a reindeer the wrong way down the street, crossing the white line, and wearing goofy outfits on a Sunday.
Which is like, goofy outfits are built for Sundays.
Also,
church clothes are very extra, especially at that time.
I also just love the concept. I love the fact that he says on a Sunday is amusing to me. Like, Monday, Tuesday, fine. Wear whatever you want. But Sunday... No.
That's where I draw the line. I also love the fact that Mrs. Claus allows them to ride Vixen, who is the smallest reindeer over there. So it's like...
she's a baby.
No, I know. And they keep saying, like, she's just a baby. And I'm like, yes, she is a baby. Be nice to her. Number one, like, just her having to lug these two giant dudes on her back seems kind of mean. But, like, I just love that they dress her up to look like a dog so that they won't get accosted. But she's got hooves. Like, they're going to see the hooves, right?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing that's hilarious to me in this is, so it's theoretically a Sunday when they go to Southtown. And that town is weirdly active.
Yeah.
In the sense that, like, they go to a school and there's kids at the school on a Sunday.
That they all have a Brooklyn accent for some reason, or at least the main kid does.
God, Iggy. Like, what are you talking about?
What are you talking about? We don't have Christmas spirit. That's for babies.
Yeah. We don't do Christmas around here with kids. No, fuck that.
So goofy.
It's so weird. I love it. It's a choice. But also the mayor is, like, in his office working on a Sunday, which is weird. Especially because that guy looks like he takes his days off seriously.
Yeah, I mean, like, the fact that he even sees them and talks to them, like, granted, he can't get through it without laughing, but basically them wanting to have it. Like, the whole idea behind this is that in order for them to show Santa that there's more Christmas spirit, or that there's still Christmas spirit, they want to have it snow there so that people can do like a traditional kind of Christmas thing in town. But it requires them getting the permission of Heat Meiser and Snow Meiser, who are objectively the best characters in the movie.
Yeah, no, they
are.
I
love Mrs. Claus. Like, she's a lot of fun, but they're objectively the most interesting.
Oh no, they are again. This is the show-stopping number, and this is
Oh
what.
fuck yeah, absolutely.
So they meet Snow Miser and Heat Miser, who are brothers who control the weather, and they each have their own number, introducing themselves, which is the first thing they do, which I adore, just on a basic concept.
Just tiny little minions that look like them.
Yes, their minions
So
are just tiny
great.
versions of themselves.
I love
like,
that.
It's so good, and those songs are so much fun. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
I really like that they have this weird sort of rivalry thing, even though they both have the same song, just different lyrics. But
Yeah.
I think the Snow Misers is more of a bop than the Heat Misers is.
I noticed rewatching it, I think the Snow Misers feels weirdly a little faster, and the Heat Misers feels a little bit slower.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't know why. That's probably just a weird distinction to help you tell them apart, but it is kind of odd. I would say, like, not what you would expect, right? You would expect the cold one to be slower and the hot one to be faster.
You would, but maybe that's just supposed to show that they're not so different, you know?
Yeah.
They're still brothers at the end of the day. And their mother is Mother Nature, who is probably my favorite design out of the entire thing.
Oh, I mean, it's such a wild, again, you want to talk about extra.
Yeah. It's, oh god, I really like the amount of detail that they go into with just the character design in this is fantastic. Like I especially like once you can see like the details on Mrs. Claus's outfits, where like she's got like a little lace border going around the collar of her shirt. Like you can really tell the amount of time and effort that they wanted to put into these to make them look really, really good. And I really appreciate that. We haven't mentioned the fact that former biggest star in the world, friend of the show, Mickey Rooney, is the voice of Santa in this.
So that's okay.
He's
so that's
not a friend
something
of the show. He's been dead for quite some time. I just like saying that he's a friend of the show.
I also love always referring to him as former biggest star in the world, Mickey Rooney.
because he was. But,
he was, absolutely.
But he also dunked on Judy Garland when she was like I listened to the most recent episode of Hollywood Crime Scene, and they mentioned this, that like he totally victim blamed Judy Garland for all the shit that MGM was doing to her, and I'm like, honestly, fuck you, Mickey Rooney, but I do like your dad noises in this movie. It's pretty funny.
Also, you worked for fucking Disney for fucking ever.
Yeah,
like,
and your singing
off.
voice sucks. Like his song in this is not good.
No, well, so that is kind of an interesting thing, right? So the Rudolph special, it's a different voice actor, but from I think Santa Claus is Coming to Town through the rest of their specials, Mickey Rooney does the voice of Santa.
Yes. Yeah. Which, I mean, like, and he was no stranger to doing voice acting stuff for quite some time anyway. But yeah, it's very uncomfortable to see certain aspects of him. Where like there's that one song where a little like Billy, you know, from Brooklyn, where he's talking to his parents and saying like, "Well, you guys don't believe in Santa, do you?"
I believe in Santa Claus. I hate that song.
I know, I hated it too. And it's just there's something about him reminiscing and thinking about like when Santa went to visit him, and then Santa smiles very creepily at him, and I did not like that.
And I don't care for that shit.
It weirded me out. And also the mom is not allowed to sing about how she believes in Santa Claus. They don't let her say anything.
Listen, they definitely, like, except for, like, they definitely, yeah. It's a little weird. I was listening to a podcast last night, and they were doing an improv, and the one character was in the improv playing a wife, and she just couldn't say anything. At one point, she's like, I am a wife. And that was the and I feel like that is Iggy's mom in this.
Yeah, I was like, so unnecessary. I did think it was a little weird about how inbred the boy's family looked, where like the son looks exactly like his father, which I think is a little weird.
They have the same buck tooth.
Yeah, I was like, I think they just really wanted to reuse that puppet for the photo. You know, they're just like, who cares? They're not gonna notice.
Oh, there's definitely I caught that rewatching Rudolph. There's a scene at one point Rudolph or Santa says, "Ready, Rudolph? Okay, Santa," and they just somewhere later they just literally recycle the same voice clip.
Yeah, I mean it's not like if they get the right take, I guess it's not that weird, but it does seem a little lazy. But
it's just kind of funny to me. I'm like, wait, that is definitely just the same take. The Year Without Santa Claus, we meet Snow Miser, we meet Heat Miser, and then because they won't agree, Snow Miser wants Southtown for a day. Heat Miser wants the North Pole for a day. Because they're bickering, they go to Mother Nature, who just tells them, no, you're going to do it. And when they like bicker more, there's actually a lightning bolt that strikes. They're like, "Yes, Mom."
Yeah, I love that the basic plot behind this is just that there's a mayor somewhere in the South that is actively pushing for global warming because he wants them to have a white Christmas. Like,
Yes.
I did like that. It was weird, especially for 1974, but it was... it's very real now, guys.
Yeah, right.
And also that Blue Christmas was covered in this movie.
Yeah.
That really fucked me up. I was like, what? But apparently it was not originally Elvis's song. They had made it way back. I think it was in the 40s, but Elvis by far has the most recognizable version of it.
Yeah, I was going to say most of Elvis's music isn't actually Elvis's music, but
fair, very fair. But like I would say that the most iconic version of it is probably Elvis's, because initially, because I wasn't sure if it was one of those things where like I was watching this, I was like, wait, is that what this is from? And then like I looked it up and I was like, oh no, okay, yeah, so it had been around for a while. It was a standard. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was definitely strange to see that in there.
Yeah, so all the kids around the world write letters to Santa saying, well, they say different things, but I know, like, obviously one of them says, like, I'll have a blue Christmas without you. Please don't take Christmas off.
Yeah.
It just won't be the same. And others are like, well, we'll just, it's okay. Take a rest or something.
Yeah, I mean, I did like the little montage that they had of all the international puppets like walking between like the different countries, like trying to put gifts and stuff together. Like some of them were definitely like very kind of like It's a Small World looking, where it's like kind of extremes, but I get it, it's 1974, it's fine. I love that there's a certain point where Iggy gets a bike for Christmas, and he does like parkour, or like he does like a weird somersault for some reason. That really made me laugh. I was like, oh, parkour Iggy, what's up?
Listen, man, he was a pioneer. No one got it back then.
No, I do. Yeah, and then by the end of it, when Santa gets all his momentum back, he comes out from the house itself and like seeing how much everybody still wants to have Christmas, and he's like, okay, cool, I'll do it. And he says like, I dreamed unhappy things.
I love that.
So happily. It's so weird.
It's my favorite line.
It made me laugh so hard.
I dreamed unhappy things.
Yay! Like, so
Yay,
goofy.
It's so weird, but it's so good.
It felt like almost like a threat a little bit.
I think it was.
There's a lot of very awkward line reads in this, and to be fair, most of them are from Mickey Rooney or from Little Billy from Brooklyn. This is kind of backtracking, but when both Heat Miser and Snow Miser are doing their songs, Mrs. Claus and Jingle Jangle and Billy from Brooklyn are just very patiently letting them finish their spiel. Like, they don't say anything, they don't interrupt, they're just like watching them do it, and they're like, okay, well, now that that's done, will you help us bring snow to Southtown? And it was like, I don't know, it just seemed kind of awkward that they were just like, no, they need to get it out of their system. This is obviously important to them, so let's not interrupt.
It just makes me think of the Rocko's Modern Life joke. Did you guys practice that? Yeah, every Thursday.
Why was everyone singing? How do y'all know the words?
Yes.
Oh, so good. So good. Yeah, I would say out of the two, I think I definitely like the second one better, just because it's so campy, and I really like camp. Like, there's a lot of stuff in Rudolph that I really liked, but God, the adults are so harsh in it. Like, just like the elf is so mean. Like, Donner gets so mad at Rudolph that like his antlers curl forwards to show that he's angry at him. Which it was a nice like creative touch and everything. But I was like, this universe kind of sucks. I don't really want to live here. Like, I'd live in Southtown. Like, that seems nice. And they don't care about stranger danger because like they let Mr. Claus in with no problems.
Southern hospitality, baby.
Yeah, that's true. They'd just be like, hey, Mom and Dad, this weird old guy in a striped pinstripe suit wants to come in and talk about Christmas. And they're like, well, I guess that's all right. He's just run with it.
Fine.
Oh, come on, son.
Okey-dokey.
I'll make some cocoa and some sweet tea or whatever you want. Who cares? This is South, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, again, the Meiser brothers are amazing.
Yeah.
I love them so much. And they have the best numbers in the thing. I think I like overall Rudolph more, but it's hard for me to say if that's like partially nostalgia or if I actually think it's like a better told story.
Yeah. I think that, and obviously the Rankin Bass movies have a lot of appeal for a reason. Like you like the look of it in general. Like the fact that there's stop motion in general is pretty fantastic, because even at that time, like that was technically the heyday of stop motion. Like you still see stuff now, like with Leica, but it's just pretty crazy the extent of how much they committed to the art form when it came to making their specials. Like they still did like regular animated stuff like 2D, but I think that that's the thing that really resonates with people, is that they like seeing how janky things can be. Just it really adds to the charm of the storytelling.
Yeah, like one that it's kind of a weird like janky thing, but also I enjoy it is like for example, when Mrs. Claus finishes her number, she throws the coat over the chair, and it's like it goes from like half on the chair to fully on the chair, and like immediately, and it's you can very easily notice it, but at the same time, like because it's stop motion, there's something kind of charming about that.
Yeah.
Whereas if I had seen that in something regularly, I'd be like, "What the fuck is this?"
You'd just be like, "That's just lazy." But like,
come on, Hanna-Barbera.
Don't get on Hanna-Barbera again. But yeah, sometimes it's warranted. I will say this: I do really want to now see Santa Claus is Coming to Town, because I've heard that that's your favorite. It's Kent's favorite too, and I've never seen it.
Santa Claus is Coming to Town is pretty solid as like a fun origin story.
Yeah, I've heard it's one of the most satisfying thematically. Like the story itself is very like strong, like it's very interesting.
Yeah, I think so. It makes a lot of fun moves, and I think the way it sort of does some things is cool. The one that's again, like the way in which they kind of build up this lore over time, the one that is buck wild is Rudolph's Christmas in July. Because it stitches together Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Frosty the Snowman into like a single narrative. But also it introduces that the reason that Rudolph has his red nose is because the personified Aurora Borealis as like an enchantress gave him that power.
So it's midichlorians all over again.
Not that bad, but
it's veering into that territory.
She did that so he could like be a beacon of hope and light in the world, and then you get this like the evil winter warlock who is like this weird wintry figure who just wants to, I don't know, rule winter.
I mean, but he lives in winter most of the time. Does that bother him that much?
No, I don't know. It's weird.
Okay. Look,
it's fun.
Some stories are obviously better thought out than others.
I think it's interesting. I think it's well thought out. It's just weird, but I love it because
fair.
It's the weirdest aspect for me is not even the Winter Warlock, but it's that they introduce from nowhere this just absolute shithead of a reindeer who just really hates Rudolph.
Just cause.
I just think he's a dick.
Oh, okay. I mean, yeah, like sometimes your character's just a dick. They can just be a dick. They don't have to have some kind of like bigger overarching reason for why they're a dick. He's just a dick. But yeah, I guess that's most of my closing thoughts.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and do our what have you been watching recently?
I've been watching Christmas stuff recently, so
standard.
That's really that and like Law and Order when I can find it.
When you can find it, what do you mean?
Well, I'm at my mom's house, so she has like, regular cable. So there are several networks that will just literally run Law and Order for 24 hours.
Oh, okay.
On a given day. So like there's one channel that like Thursday and Friday, literally all they show is Law and Order.
Okay.
And it's unabashed like sort of propaganda, right? But it is also like just really easy to like tune in and not pay attention.
Fair enough.
What about you, Tracy?
God. Okay. So yesterday, I don't know why, just because I knew that I've been doing a lot of cross stitch stuff recently. So I just put stuff on in the background that I can listen to. And I found this Heaven's Gate, the Cult of Cults thing on HBO Max. I watched the entire thing. It was a 4-part thing where each one was like an hour. So I just had it on in the background. And like, it was good, but I've obviously been watching too many cult things. I was just be like, Tracy, you really need to stop watching cult stuff all the time. This is really fucking you up. And like, just, like number one, like I had been watching some Christmas stuff too. Like I'd put on Meet Me in St. Louis not too long ago, and I really liked that one a lot. It's probably my favorite Christmas movie. And, obviously watching these two. But that's been the majority of it. Other than that, Kent has been playing a lot of Cyberpunk 2077, so I've been watching him play that, which has been cool. Like, the world building is absolutely fantastic. There's some stuff that's a little bit weird. Like, Keanu Reeves' character, he's kind of a dick. Like, he's just basically, like, his character is like an eco-terrorist or something. So he's just be like, we need to take down this thing, blah, blah, blah. But technically, he's your best friend, kind of. Or at least he's hanging around with you for everything. So, but, yeah, that's been a lot of it. But I'm probably going to put on Muppet Christmas Carol later today because I really like that. I really like Mickey's Christmas Carol too. Like, just Christmas Carol in general, like most iterations I like a lot.
Oh, it's one of my favorites.
It's just such a good story, you know? Like,
it is.
And like Charles Dickens, you magnificent bastard. Just making sure you get paid for every single word.
19th century novelist. A genius.
Yeah. What is that from?
I forgot. That's from Muppet Christmas Carol. Rizzo says that
to
him
that's
like
right.
right away.
Yeah, it's great.
It's hilarious.
I guess other than that, any other things you're working on or just handles, stuff like that?
Yeah, I've just been, I've been trying to get back into the swing of editing podcasts again.
Mm-hmm.
Ran into a hiccup. We just released a new episode of, literally the day we're recording this, released an episode of Tabletop Buffoonery. And
Nice.
Trying to figure out what we're going to do with the next episode because we've run into some technical difficulties.
Okay. Well, hopefully you guys can get that resolved relatively soon then.
Yeah, I'm hoping. But yeah, just trying to get back into podcasting. You can find me on the internet at lobster_writer on Twitter, Lobster Writer on Instagram, and you can find me on Tabletop Buffoonery, my actual play podcast. Tracy, where do they find you on the internet?
Thank you, Robin. They can find me via at TC Troush on both Instagram and Twitter. You can find my personal website where I swear I'm going to put more stuff up recently. Here's the thing. I've literally been back-to-back, and Ken can attest to this. I've been back-to-back doing projects and stuff just because I'm trying to get gifts. Like, I'm trying to do a more handmade thing this year just because, number one, money has been just, a pain recently. I think there's just something more fun about sending handmade stuff. It feels more like, it's not like you're just getting somebody something.
I don't know. Yeah.
I like the craftsmanship. Because you do it too. You've been working on a cross stitch project for some time, but yeah,
I'm hoping to finish it. This year.
I'm sure you will. But yeah, I'm trying to finish a bedroom sign for my niece because she's her first birthday was this past August, so I wanted to make her like a little thing that says like Evelyn's room. So it's I got a sheep and a bunny on there, so I'm trying to finish that. Cute. I finished the sheep today. I'll send you a picture. I really like how it's turning out so far. But nice. I think it's kind of one of those things where I just sort of got myself into it, where I'd just be like, okay, I'm going to make this thing for that person, but some of them live out of the country, so I'm trying to get them all out, and it's just kind of a mess. Yeah, I don't really know exactly what Christmas is going to look like for us this year. Realistically, I'm probably just going to drop gifts off at my family's house, and then, we'll probably open them up over Zoom or something like that. I don't know.
There you go.
But I don't know. My mom really wants me to come over, but I'm just be like, Mom, numbers are really bad. And she's taking it personal, and I really don't want it to be personal. But I don't know. Like, yeah, it's just weird. This year just fucking sucks. I'm ready to be able to go do stuff normally again.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Oh, man. To sleep, perchance to dream. Yeah, oh my God. But yeah, other than that, just, I don't know.
Stay safe, y'all.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, there's nothing more I'm gonna say at this point. It's like, if you're taking it seriously, you are. If you're not taking it seriously, you're not. I don't know. I just fucking hate this year so goddamn much.
Yeah, well, hopefully better things are on the horizon.
Yeah, man, fingies crossed on that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, we're gonna. This is realistically going to be our last episode for this year. And then we'll have something coming out first week of January, roughly.
Yeah.
Or thereabouts. Like, yeah, I don't know, but. Yeah, if there's anything in particular that you want us to review, please reach out to us. Twitter is definitely the best resource for yours truly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but by far. And also, I just don't like getting unsolicited DMs on Instagram because most of them are from porn bots or people adding me to a group that I did not ask to be in. So
probably also still a porn bot.
Yeah, probably still a porn bot. But yeah. Otherwise, if it's easier for you to listen to our episodes, you can find them on YouTube as well. Just search for Not Joanna Eggs and look for our head logo. They should be uploaded concurrently once they go up on Libsyn. That's enough doom scrolling at the tail end of this episode.
Yeah, we're done with that. All right. Thank you so much for listening.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks for sticking with us for another year.
We appreciate it.
Hopefully 2021 is better.
Yeah. I can be nothing if not optimistic. Like, as long as we can hold out until the 21st of January, maybe it'll get better. A little bit.
Here's hoping. All right.
Thanks, guys.
Talk to y'all next time.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Hey guys, thanks again so much for listening. Our intro music is Don't Hold My Breath by Ben Briggs. The outro is Wet Dreams by Phonetic Hero. Both were found on ocremix.org. If you like the show, please subscribe, rate, and review us, or tell a friend to check us out. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, and anywhere else you get your podcast. Find the show website via notjoannaeggs.tumblr.com. Follow us on Twitter via @lobster_writer and @TCTrash. Not Joanna Eggs, because animation is for everybody. Oh, she's making so many bears.